It looks like we have a couple of more callers. Can somebody tell me who the 4783 number is so I can rename you, please?
TJ.
Oh, thanks, TJ.
Uh-huh.
And then we have somebody with a 6440 number. Can you let me know who you are, please?
It's Brian Condon.
Oh, perfect. Thanks, Brian.
Sure.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. How is everyone out there today? Welcome to Employee Council. This is Amanda Thompson. I'm the Chief Human Resources Officer, and it's a pleasure for those listening in. And thank you to all of our dedicated Employee Council members for meeting again together this week. Know that the purpose of our gathering today, first of all, it is a shorter time frame because we want to share some updated information with you, which will go along with our financial and compensation update. And of course, as always, there'll be time for you to share feedback in the same method that you did last week. And we thank you again for your time with us today. Just a reminder as we go into a few different pieces of remote meeting that you do have your mute buttons. So thank you for muting and unmuting. Shauna will work to unmute you after you raise your hand virtually. And then I will call on you as quickly as I can to allow your voices to be heard and your thoughts to be heard. And then if you don't mind after, we'll just have you remute again so that we can call on the next participant. We do have some other members here, some panelists here this evening. I want to thank our friends in finance. Colleen and Jana are here this evening to share some additional information and also be available to answer some questions before our session. And we do have at the check-in time, we do have some other cabinet friends here that are available to share any words of wisdom as well, should that be needed. So with that, we'll head right into our agenda. So as always, when we hold employee council, we do share any kind of updates for you to ensure that you are in the know as to new and upcoming events that are occurring. So wanted to let you know, you may have seen it, and it is posted on our website, that we do have some upcoming town hall meetings. So for this week, for tomorrow, we do have a town hall meeting for employees, and there are spaces on our website for you to register and voice your interest to participate. And there's opportunity for you to ask questions as well or submit questions for answering. Immediately, within about an hour after that, I believe it's from 5 to 6 tomorrow evening, we do have that available for our community as well. And you may serve in both roles as an employee and a community member too. So we want to make sure that you are aware, and even though you are an employee council member, and serve an important leadership role here in our district, we do welcome you as well to participate and listen in as well in those town hall meetings. Any questions about that? I want to give that space to see if anyone had any questions. Okay, I don't see any hands raised, so we will continue on. Another great piece of news is that we do have, and you'll see that link in your agenda, a new COVID-19 employee resources site. And that will be located on our district webpage. And then you'll also see that featured within the tab on Workday. So we have that announcements ribbon down Workday on the side panel, and you will see that there as well. There are benefits information that would be listed there. There's other resources. We have our EAP information there, and we'll continue to add pertinent information. We also have stored all of our former communications out to employees during this time. So we wanted everyone to be able to have reference to that. And we do thank our communications team for working with us to get that up and running. And I just do encourage you, we encourage you to go take a look at that. And as employee council members, if you have any feedback about that, if you'd like to see anything else added to that, please contact myself, or you can contact Shauna as well. Before we move any further, I do want to thank Shauna and Mr. Riley this evening for continuing to help us with a remote learning and meeting environment and a feedback environment. So thank you so much. Did also want to let you know in terms of updates that we do have our benefits open enrollment coming, and know that typically we've held it May 1st of each year. Over the last sets of years that I have been here, we are shifting that just to allow additional opportunity to monitor our budget and make decisions on the upcoming school year. And we will host benefits open enrollment. We're going to shift it to May 15th until the end of May. So we will soon be communicating that information out to you. It will be the same process. It should look the same as last year in terms of it's a passive enrollment. And so for those that do not want to change anything, there are very few clicks that you need to do at all. We will be communicating out benefits, any benefit changes or information to you prior to that, but we did want you to know that communication is coming, and employees will have a 2-week period to do so. And wondering if you have any questions about that. If you do, please use the raise your hand, and Shauna can provide you an opportunity to share. I see one hand raised. Quickly scrolling to see who that is.
Hi, it's Chris.
Hi, Chris. Thank you. I was trying to scroll through our many attendees today.
My question was about things like the flex pay and like all that prepaid stuff. If we're not spending it, is that going to be addressed in benefits for next year?
So yes, our HSA and the flex will roll forward. As we do annually. We will be sending out information regarding that so that you are aware of what you're able to do with that. And I believe our benefits department is providing updates. We just got some recent updates yesterday to that new employee resources site. So I would say if you wouldn't mind, give it about a day, and then please check back there, and we will also be communicating out that information there as well. Other benefits though, like your vision benefits and any deductible levels for this year will pause at the end. It'll stop along with your end of your typical deductible year, June 30, and then starting July 1 again, you have your new benefits again. But those two items you asked about, those will roll forward per usual. Did that answer your question?
Well, the daycare, usually if you don't spend it, you lose it. The child care portion.
Okay. We're happy to get you more clarification on that. I don't want to share anything out of supposed, so stay tuned and I can get you a personal response to that. And we'll
Yeah,
be
other
sure.
people asked me too. That's why I asked me.
Fantastic, thank you. And I do appreciate you funneling those themes through employee council so that we can ensure that we are timely in our communication and response to individuals.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, glad to hear you tonight. Any other questions? Okay. Feel free, if they do come up during our time, to let me know. And then our last announcement or update is we do know that we have a few employee council openings. We can review that again. Prior to our closure, we are going to move forward with a process for filling that. We'll continue with that, but I'll bring it back to our next meeting together so that we can review that and ensure that we know what openings that we have from what areas and what levels and what departments. I do know that we'll have a teacher opening or so. And then we also will have an executive director spot as well. So we will have a few different ones, but just wanted to let you know that is up and coming in a future meeting. Okay, we did get an answer right away. This is a gift of remote learning. We get answers pretty quickly. So Chris, to get back to your question, what I'm hearing from our benefits department is that you have 2.5 months to use your FSA dollars at the end of the plan year from July 1. And then also HSA rolls from year to year. So if we have any HRL team members on, Scott, did you want to share any additional information? I know you're listening in and you're participating this evening.
No, just the 2.5 months. So basically mid-September, you'd have to use your flexible spending account dollars by that time.
Okay. Chris, I just want to make sure we addressed your question, and we will post this information to our employee site as well. Chris, if that's you, please share.
Yeah, it is. Yes, I think so. I was just worried that the healthcare one rolls, but the one that you use when you pay for childcare, if you don't use it, you lose that money. So are you saying that you have to submit a receipt within 2.5 months, or you can actually spend it past the July 1st date?
Scott?
Yeah, I believe you can spend it. There's a grace period in the plan. I believe you can spend it up to 2.5 months after the July 1st date.
So what we can do is work to ensure that this information, knowing that it sounds like a frequently asked question, we'll put that information out on our employee resources site. And then we can also ensure that as we collect new and updated information around benefits, any coverages and things that during this COVID-19 time, that we're providing those updates to our employees. Thank you so much, Chris. I do appreciate that you shared that with us this evening. And thank you, Scott. So now we will go ahead and move on to our updates regarding an additional piece for you to be aware of and give your reactions and response to. So Jana from our finance department will be sharing out in partnership with myself. You'll see we're not going to go through the entire presentation that we had presented to the board. You had received all of that in-depth information last week, but we will have reference, wanted you to be aware, to options A and C again, just for a quick reference so that you had it. And then you'll also see an option D. And then we felt it really important to provide you scenarios so that you knew what the potential could look like for individuals in terms of take-home pay under each of the options. So with that, I will ask Shauna to switch us over. And then Shauna can also, once she gets us going, we're going to link that so you can actually see that and refer to it. I know that was a question last time, and our other committees that we're meeting with also have been wanting to refer to that as we go through our feedback. So Shauna's in the process of doing that. Thank you. And then once you have a moment, we'll have you flip slides for us, please. So again, our agenda this evening is listed there for compensation options A through C. just a brief review, sharing a new option, and then what those implications look like out of each of those options. And then after that, you'll be participating. Thank you so much for your feedback this evening on the same exact questions as we did last week. So if you have any new information, you're welcome to add that this evening as well. Thank you, Shauna. Next slide. Just a quick reference to this, and then I'll have Jana jump in and share as well. So option A is an approximate $10 million implementation cost. That is slightly different than we shared previously, because to ensure that no employee experiences a cut in their pay. Jana, will you share a little bit from the finance side why we adjusted that slightly?
Yeah, I sure can. So when we give a 1.25% increase, it is on that base dollar amount. So you would get have $40,000 pay, and we would increase that by 1.25. But then that 1.25% that you're going to have to pay in para that increases per legislation, that's actually based on that higher dollar amount. So we have to give a slightly larger increase in pay to cover that 1.25 that's actually calculated on a higher number, if that helps.
Thank you. So we just wanted you to be aware of those slight number changes. However, the option itself is the same in that this option would ensure that no employee's pay would be different than it is currently in this year. So you would be able to be kept whole, which would cover your para increase on the employee side. And then also the district would be supporting with medical premium increases, a portion of that for the 8th year in a row. Next slide, please. Again, general fund breakdown, we'll have you refer to that. Just for slight changes. Next slide, please. The pros and cons essentially look the same as we shared previously. Pro is that your pay will not look different than it is currently. Con is there is a larger budget cut to need to occur in addition to 25% usage of the medical fund reserves. Next slide, please. Option B, slight changes just in numbers for the same reason that Jana so wonderfully just shared with us, would be that there would be an increase for employees to cover your para employee side, and then passing on a $20 increase to all employee medical premiums. That is to cover a portion of the medical premium. And that would pass on that $20 a month equally across all plans. And different plans, individuals pay different amounts. So it could range as an additional $20 a month to up to $50 a month that would come out of individuals' checks according to their plan selection. Next slide, please. And you'll see the general fund breakdown. Not much different than before. Next slide, please. Pros and cons, we did not make any changes to that information. The largest con is employees' take-home pay would be less than in the 1920 school year. And looking at medical premium increases, there could be a differentiated hardship depending on earning levels of our employees. And you'll see that and what that looks like in some later slides. Next slide, please. Here, this is new. So look at the red writing there in the upper left corner. This is a $20 increase snapshot to all plans. So you'll quickly see that we have a couple of different plans under Kaiser and Cigna. We have PPO, employee all the way to family coverage, and then high deductible plan from employee all the way to family coverage. And you'll see that we have differentiating contribution amounts based on plan. And you'll do a comparison from 1920 to 2021. For example, on a PPO Cigna Allegiance, you'll go from employee-only coverage at $30 to potentially $50 under this option. For Kaiser employee-only, $0 to $20. And then, for example, some of the higher ranges from a $325 to $345 amount, and so on. Next slide, please. Option C remains the same as before. which would include employees paying $20 towards the medical premium increase and also the employee portion of the para increase. The implementation cost is approximately $3.4 million. Next slide, please. The fund breakdown is here for your reference. Next slide, please. And then pros and cons are similar to before. Again, employees' take-home pay would be less, although a pro would be in terms of budget cuts, it would require lesser budget cuts. Overall net decrease of pay into for employees due to the various contributions that they would be making toward this. Next slide, please. Okay, here's the new information. So this is an additional information just to ensure that, you know, we said in option C, it was towards a portion of, and B, towards a portion of the premium increase. This would be a scenario in which the employees would absorb the full cost of the medical premium increases and the para increase. Please note that it's very important you understand no decisions have been made. We've just created various range of scenarios from the district taking on these costs all the way to the employee taking on the full costs, which would be option D. This has a 0 implementation cost to the district. But know that with this, there would be a couple of different ways to look at implementation options. So if you'll notice in number 1, employees would pay the full increase of your specific plan. So that would mean based upon the plan that individuals have chosen for those that take benefits, increases would vary from $17 a month for individuals up to $240 a month, depending on what plan you chose. Or the premium increase, the full premium increase could be spread equally across all plans, and that would mean an approximately $75 a month increase to everyone's plans. Next slide, please. Pros and cons with that. This is, in essence, the least amount of budget cuts, obviously, for programming that would, regarding funding this. Cons would be all employees with medical plans only would contribute to that increase in the medical premiums. Take-home pay would be the most impacted in this proposal or this option, depending on which option individuals went with out of 1 or 2. And option D, there could be various impacts to employees depending upon which option and which earning level our employees are at. Next slide, please. So here's a snapshot as to what that looks like. This is new slide info as well. So if you look at the plan, here are some examples as to option 1 and 2. This is for Cigna and Allegiance. So you'll notice that option 1 is the individuals who have different choices, different plan choices, pay different amounts. And Jana, did you want to share any additional information around this? So there, for example, it could go from $30 under the PPO Cigna Allegiance to $113, or $30 up to $105, with a greater impact, for example, under family coverage from $849 to $1,000 per month. Any other information you want to share about this, Jana?
No, I think you hit it nicely. There's just a lot of ranges of how this could affect different families. And I think actually the next slides really demonstrate this really well. So I think you've covered it on this one.
Okay.
You ready for me?
Yes, I see that we have a question. We may hold for a moment and we'll share that question. So Kendra, I know that you want to share something. Hang tight. We have a couple more slides to share with you, and then we will go to a brief question session. Okay, Jana, thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Employee Council, for having us back. I love these next few slides. I think they really demonstrate what this means to the people. So this shows a few different scenarios of what these options mean to people within different pay ranges and pay types. So I hope this helps bring it all together for you. These next slides, you'll see A, B, C, and D in the 4 panels. A and B, as we go through these, are gonna stay the same. So again, option A is that the district covers the para increases and the medical. So the increase to the salary equals the payment of para, and there's no change in take-home pay at all. That will be the same. B is that the district pays the para, but then the employee pays the $20 to all plans. So you can see in that far right column, the change in the monthly take-home pay is a reduction of $20 and a yearly reduction amount of $240. And that would be the same for all plans. Then if you go down to C in the bottom section, again, this option is the employee pays that 1.25% extra for para and $20 to all plans. So this means the employee's take-home pay is reduced by $62 because again, it's that 1.25% of that $40,000 and the $20. And then D, this one varies quite a bit. So this is assuming that does that option 1 of D that says that the employee covers the full increase of that specific plan. So those changes in monthly take-home pay change depending on which plan is chosen. And this one has the most significant effect on the employee pay, both for the month and for the year. Now, all of these scenarios assume that nothing else changed with that employee. So their FSAs didn't change, those things that we just talked about. Their employee status didn't change. So they didn't change jobs. They didn't change their full-time equivalent. So the number of hours that they worked during a day, everything else stayed the same. This is what that would mean to their paycheck. So this is for a $40,000 a year employee. So think of this as a brand new person just coming into the district.
Like a teacher, for example.
Thank you. Yes. So let's go down to the next slide. This would be someone who has a $60,000 a year salary. And again, A is the same, no change to that employee's paycheck. B looks just the same as the other slide in that their paycheck would change by $20. It's that C and D option that changes slightly more. So again, option C, they would cover that 1.25% of a higher salary and the $20. So that means their paycheck would change by $83 a month. And then again, D is the higher option. So that is the 1.25% plus their full increase of their specific plan. So that one would be as high as $303 per month or almost $3,700, actually $3,639 for the whole year. If we can go down one more slide. This is for an $80,000 salary. And same as we've been seeing, A and B are the same, $0 and $20 change. C increases by that increased 1.25% of a higher number. And then D is that 1.25% plus that full increase of that specific plan. Again, assuming nothing else changed with this employee. And then finally, one more. This one is an hourly employee, so $15.64 per hour, and the 180 classified calendar. So this is a slightly different type of employee. Again, A and B continue to look exactly the same. A is $0 change. B is that $20 a month decrease in pay. And then C, which is again that 1.25% para and the $20, That decreases our monthly pay by $41. And then option D is that bigger option that's new to us this time, which is the 1.25% and the full change in that premium price. So the bottom one is 261 decrease in take home pay, or 3,136.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So thank you, Jana. So in terms of a tentative timeline, as you know, the word tentative means that it could revise based on different factors going on, such as updates to the budget. So we did slightly make some adjustments in terms of some dates. So notice that we'll keep kind of that synopsis of April through June, just for reference. And know that we continue to gather feedback with various committees. We recently did a feedback session with DAC, with District Accountability, with Fiscal Oversight. We are doing a second session here this evening with all of you. So thankfully, we've incorporated our staff and community virtual town halls. And also we have our Board of Education. This remains the same, with approval of compensation tentatively at May 12th. And knowing that we have an additional meeting coming up together on May 4th, and to ensure we're continuing to provide opportunity for you to give input and share your thoughts, and to keep you updated. Know that our benefits open enrollment went from the 1st to the 15th, so that is documented here as well for your reference. And again, we'll be communicating that information out to the system. And there is a May 26th Board of Education meeting to share on the proposed budget and to make decisions regarding that. And on June 23rd, our board will vote on the 2021 adopted budget. Will remain in May, June for those employee notifications and workday, and that's where individuals will hear information on what pay information looks like, and then our license contracts as we do annually. So with that, Shauna, please flip to the next slide. Kendra, you have been so patient. We would love for you to ask your question, and know that we do have a few moments for questions, and then we need to move on to our feedback session so that we can ensure that we give ample time for that. Kendra, thanks for coming this evening.
Oh, okay. I am so sorry, but my dog started barking right now.
That's okay.
It's crazy. It's madness. So I hope you guys can hear me.
Yes.
My question is, the federal government has been talking about backfilling state budgets due to everything that's happening with the coronavirus. Should that, or if and when that happens, would we revisit a salary schedule? Could we do it mid-year, or would we have to wait until next year? What are your thoughts?
Thank you for your question. That would be something that we would definitely need to be in communication with our leadership and our board about, knowing that recently our Board of Education shared at the most recent board meeting that we are going to pause on that work, as you know, and as we discussed previously, and that updates would continue in January. So there are so many factors that would influence that, but we have thank you for that thought, and I will be sure to share that forward, or share that question forward. But at this time, I wouldn't have any financial information as to what that looks like. Budget and finance friends, anything else you want to share relative to that?
Yeah, I think you answered it well. There are so many unknowns right now that I think we're all a little bit in a wait and see what happens type place.
Thank you so much. Carrie, I see your hands raised. You have a question?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Hello.
Hi there. I more wanted to, I saw on the screen that it said feedback. Is this an opportunity for feedback or just questions?
Actually, we are going to go into an official feedback session just like last time. So hold that amazing thought. We want to make sure that we capture that. And I want to thank Kathy on our team. She's going to take copious notes as she did so wonderfully last time. Any other questions pertaining to the new information shared this evening? Okay, Shauna, please move to the next slide. So again, just revisiting our norms again. We really want to ensure that we hear as many voices as possible and know that this is for input processes, not for consensus this evening. And we, as we usually do, will continue to respect the various points of view and assume goodwill on behalf of the thoughts of all that are shared. It's important that we manage time to make sure we get through each of those questions. So there's approximately 6 to 8 minutes per question. And that tends to be about enough time so far from what we can see. We would respect, again, that you would avoid any reference to specific individuals and really speak from your perspective versus for others. Know that we're going to do this, or we continue to do the same process with others. Okay, next slide, please. And we want to thank Mary. She'll help us track time again. Okay, so we wanted to make sure that you had these up for reference. Again, these are the same questions that we did before. We'll start with the first one. So what are the pros of each option? So specifically, let's make sure, since we captured some of the pros of A through C last time, let's really spend some time talking about D. What are the pros of that option? And then you may also contribute to A through C if you wanted to add any additional information. Don't forget to use that hand raise process. Carrie.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you so much for all your work. And I very much appreciate that this is a difficult situation and that challenging decisions will need to be made. That said, as a teacher, with regard to Plan B, C, or D, going from anticipating that employee pay would become normalized after years of sort of poor practice to, in fact, getting a pay cut is difficult to swallow, and I think would be for most teachers. And so I just want to advocate for the looking at whatever reserves there are or whatever decisions could be made to keep teachers at least at the pay that they currently are. So because of that, I appreciate that there's an option that gives teachers the opportunity to have the para increase be absorbed and the medical increase be absorbed. And I feel like the term promises made, promises kept is a phrase that is in alignment with that number with letter A. Like I said, I do understand that it is challenging and we probably all need to make some sacrifices, but I just wanted to throw that out there because I am a teacher and would, just feel like it's important to advocate for teachers, and that advocating for teachers is also ends up being what's best for kids. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have Colleen. Thank you for raising your hand, Colleen.
Yeah, thank you. Pretty much I ditto exactly what Carrie just said. I think if we're trying to find a pro in option D, it definitely would be that, fewer programs and programming cuts would not need to be made. So I guess I'm trying to be positive and offer a pro about that. But I think, like Carrie said, going from the beginning of the year when we were telling people and hoping that we would be able to put out a salary schedule for at least a small group of people to now potentially, looking at option D where everybody is getting a pretty significant pay cut. I think that's going to be a tough one to sell from our point of view. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. We have another hand raised. Amy.
So again, thank you. I appreciate all the work. I come back to kind of the comments that were made before, which is it's really hard to even talk about pros and cons until we understand specifically what programming cuts we're talking about. Because obviously, if we're looking at these 4 options, A is obviously, I mean, it makes the most sense. It's what everybody is going to gravitate towards, unless you're saying with A, you know, school-based budgets and higher classroom sizes and all of those things, I mean, they could make a huge difference. And I think we just, I can't even begin to make a decision on what's best until I have the whole picture. So it's just really even difficult to, I think, discuss pros and cons at this point, because I don't know what the consequences of each one are really in terms of cuts to programming.
Thank you. And so Amy, I'm going to ask you also to keep those thoughts as we talk about question 4, where the things that you want to preserve and prioritize. So they do go hand in hand. So please keep those thoughts relative to 4 as well. Any other pros for any of them, A through D? I see Adriana.
Hi, Amanda. I actually have a
Hi.
question. Is now an okay time?
We are in a input session, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, it just came up. I've heard that the impacts of COVID-19 potentially on premium increases for medical insurance could be significant. Are the increases that we're talking about with our current plans, do they reflect that? Or is there a potential that next year's budget would have to take into consideration increases in premiums as a result of coronavirus?
That's a really smart, important question. Thank you. The premium amounts that were provided to us were done pre our COVID-19 situation. So we will know more about what that impact looks like as we head into next year, the following years, this time next year.
Okay, thank you.
Any other pros for any of the options, A through C? I know that we heard from a good portion of our attendees. However, we encourage every voice to be heard. Please share your thoughts. Yes, Vanessa. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, Amanda. My thoughts are, it's tough to see those numbers for all of us, but I think many of us know many people that don't have jobs or are really struggling during this time. So a pro for all of them is that we are so thankful that the district is, keeping us on and paying everyone until the end of the school year. Seeing all those numbers, even I think for me, the pro for option C is that it kind of spreads that responsibility across district and employees without being too much of a, I look at those classified numbers and, I work with a lot of classified staff, and that's really, really tough for people when we are really struggling already to hire bus drivers and EA4s and nutrition services to, put that kind of burden on for that healthcare premium would make, I think, that even worse. So I think that would be my pro for option C, is that, I know it hurts, but everybody kind of carries that burden a little bit. That would be my pro for option C.
Okay, thank you. Any other pros in terms of options A through D? Oh, I hear our timer. Thank you, Mary. Let's move on to 2. What are the cons of each of those options? Let's start with D, since we don't yet have information and your thoughts regarding D. I see Jen. Jen, thanks for coming.
Well, thank you.
I will say that D, that one was the first one of the options that really felt harsh, in my opinion. I feel like in the time of a pandemic, really making benefits, health benefits specifically, potentially unaffordable for people is a pretty big negative. In my opinion, I, again, have a lot of classified employees under me who make $12 an hour and do not work for me for the paycheck, but a lot of them do work for me for the affordable benefits. And that one really, to have up to a $250 a month premium increase, that is unaffordable and could potentially cause people to not have health benefits. And that's very concerning for me.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that input. Terry. Hi, Terry.
I would agree with exactly what she said, that the cost of the medical is going to be a huge con, and also that huge pay decrease would cause a lot of people to leave, and I don't think that's what we want. Another con I have for A is that the cut to programming, I think, will be huge, and I just don't know if we can get past all that.
Okay. Thank you for your thoughts. Very much so. Appreciate it. Colleen.
Thanks. I have a couple of thoughts. A con on D that I'm concerned about is that when we have a large portion of Douglas County, I think Douglas County School District is the largest employer in the county, if I'm correct, and we have a significant amount of people making a significant amount of a lower paycheck and take home in their paycheck. How is that going to affect our county's economy? Our people in, especially in our county and across the whole United States and everywhere, have really had a hit to economies, but what does that do to Douglas County's economy? So I'm concerned about that. So I guess that would potentially be a con. And then, I'm sorry, I lost my second thought. That's all I have to say on that. I apologize.
Okay, if it comes back, just raise that hand. Other cons, please raise those hands. We value your thinking. There we go. Peter.
Hi, Amanda. How you
Hi.
doing?
Good to hear your voice.
Thank you. I think an obvious con is obviously anytime you reduce individual salary, from what they currently have to next year being reduced, is always going to be not very well received, especially that significant amount. However, we also don't know the financial impact that the virus is going to have on the district. Just simply when we take into consideration we're losing $2 million a month by not collecting fees from vehicle sales and registrations, delayed tax revenues, and so on and so forth. I think that a happy medium, well, it won't be happy, but I think a medium needs to be considered where some of those costs will need to be passed on to employees, just so we're going to be able to function and meet the needs of the students. But having that significant of an impact, I agree, someone mentioned that could result in people not being able to even afford having benefits, and that's even more concerning. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you for your thoughts. Others, cons of each option. I see a hand raised. Oh, and it's not raised now. If you've been unmuted, please share. Colleen.
Hey, thanks. Okay, my thought was just that everybody realizes, like Peter said, we're going to have to make sacrifices, and I think that within families and homes, people are making sacrifices. But I guess I feel like the sacrifice of programming and programming cuts makes more sense at this time than it would be for people to be taking home less pay. So the option A, B, or C, which obviously is going to impact programming, but doesn't impact people's salary at this time, I think is just more palatable right now.
Thank you. I think we have a few moments left, and it's not too late to share your thoughts. Any other thoughts before we move on to number 3? Okay, so third question, are there any unintended consequences that we need to be aware of in option D? And then also A through C, if you have any thoughts since our last time. Raise those hands, please. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Kim. Hi, Kim.
Hello. I have a crazy unintended consequence that popped into my head. If we were able to make something like an A work or a B work, and all of our neighboring districts are faced with all of these same situations as far as budget cuts and impact of COVID, and they make some decisions in their own budgets that are more like a C or a D, we might actually be able to close the gap between us and neighboring districts in our pay for the, say, average employee. Kind of a crazy thought because we don't know what they're going to do because we don't even know what we're going to do yet. But just a thought that popped into my head.
Thank you for that. Any other unintended consequences? We welcome your voices. I see a hand raised. Kendra.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome, dogs are quiet finally. So I wanted to ask a couple, well, not ask a couple of questions, but I wanted to again prioritize that retaining and attracting quality teachers and staff. So I wanted to make sure that we put that, we preserve or prioritize that. Also keeping in mind class sizes. As we start into kind of a new era of learning, we need to make sure that our class sizes are taken into consideration and our students' well-being. But I do have a quick question for you guys. Would it be possible to put back up the power or the slides of the different options? I know I'm getting that from somebody who's watching it and would like to see the little options because they can't seem to find it on the website.
Sure. We can put the summary slide up. Is that what you were referring to, Kendra?
Yeah, you know what? The summary slides would be perfect.
Okay, thank you
so much. And yeah, thanks.
Okay, so we'll record your feedback under number 4, knowing that that was a prioritization item. Is there any unintended consequence for number 3, Kendra, that you wanted to share? Or
oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were already on 4.
No, not yet.
Oh gosh, I'm just skipping ahead.
Okay.
Unintended consequences that you should be aware of. You know, I think the cuts to programming, again, we need to know what those are. We don't know what those would be and what programs would be impacted.
Okay, thank you. Derek.
Hi guys, I am all for keeping as much money in our pockets as possible. I think we also need to think about the future when we're going to go to our taxpayers again for a bond and MLO. If during this time we're raising fees and charging our families more that are likely to vote for a bond and MLO, I just worry about the optics of us keeping our pay the same to raise fees and do other things.
Thank you. I think we have a Peter.
Consequence could be by not having any cut this year, we're probably going to have some significant financial impact on the budget this following year. Plus, someone did mention the potential of having a greater increase on benefit costs due to the virus, and it'll probably take a year for that to trickle down. Could result in a significant salary decrease the following year. I don't know if that's, you know, pro or con, that's just unintended possible consequence.
Okay, thank you. Derek, is your hand raised again, Derek? Anyone else for number 3?
We have a little more than 2 minutes left. If anyone has something they'd like to share.
Okay, Adriana.
Yeah, again, I just am thinking about, you know, the long term of all of this. And I don't think that we're looking at a short economic downturn. I think it's going to be more protracted. I'm really concerned about, you know, the impact this is going to have on our health insurance premiums, as well as, you know, just overall decrease in the economy. So, you know, I just want to make sure that we're not just thinking about 2021, but, you know, all of the years that come after that, and what this could potentially mean.
Thank you. Okay, number 4. So we want to recognize the priorities of our constituents. Knowing that there will be an impact on the budget regardless, please provide us feedback on the concepts, values, or constructs that you want to make sure that we preserve and prioritize. So think of those top 5 for you. Examples that we shared last time: social emotional learning, safety, district-wide PD, class size, etc. There are many, many, many that we can come up with, but just wanted to get your thoughts going. Raise those hands. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Vanessa.
I was just thinking, as we talked about this last time, that we spent so much time identifying for the strategic plan what was important to us as a district, and wonder if those are still really important to us. I've heard a lot of people refer to safety and social emotional for students, as well as equity. Clearly, you know, the attract with the compensation might not be there, but you know, we could still focus on retaining the employees that we have and a positive culture. So I just wanted to honor all that work that we did, you know, that was done at the beginning of the year to really identify what was important to us as a district.
Thank you. Other thoughts, other priorities? Colleen, and then Kathy.
Last time when we talked, I talked to you about my priorities of class size and safety in buildings. But the other thing that I want to think about, and please forgive me, I don't remember who made the comment, but looking forward at a potential MLO or bond override in the future, I think that when we look at what our priorities are, we need to be really cognizant that our families and our communities have suffered a huge amount because they've taken on homeschooling in their own homes. And so whatever those priorities are, I think we really need to pay attention to making sure it honors our families, whether it's fee increases or programming cutting or whatever it is. We really need to make sure that not only do we take care of ourselves inside of Douglas County School District, our employees and our students, but then also what our community is going to be thinking about the choices that we have made.
Thank you. Kathy. Hi, Kathy.
Hi. So when I want to go back to what Vanessa said, and I think it is a really good point that our strategic plan, we had done all this work to identify the things that were really important to us. And I feel like we were getting so close to this idea that the people in the trenches, the teachers and staff who are implementing this remote learning and working their tails off and really stepping up to the plate and showing what partners they are. We know that over 3,000 people had thought that a collective bargaining agreement was really important. And I keep bringing this back up because it is a no-cost solution to inviting people to the table that are not members of employee council that can't represent other people. We don't represent, we only can give our own opinion. But when you have a collective bargaining agreement, those are elected individuals that do represent. And I think that would honor the professionals in our field that have, like I said, stepped up to the plate. And I think that it would be a mistake to not recognize that this is probably the time that we need to do the things that other districts are doing around us. They're making these decisions with their employees with all of the information, not just pieces of the information.
Okay, thank you. Other hands. Any other thoughts about priorities, values? Okay, thank you for your feedback. We greatly appreciate it. And know, employee council members, that we will hold on to this information and we will compile it for future sharing with our district leadership and our Board of Education. That will be shared in an upcoming future meeting. So just as always, the last few moments, I know we're 1 minute over, just want to provide a few brief moments to check in on all of you and see how you're all doing. Anything that you want to share for the good of the group that's going well out there in the system? Anything that we need to be aware of? Yes, Colleen.
I appreciate the chance to share so much tonight. You can tell I've been locked away on my computer way too long. Hey, I just want to say, while remote learning has not been ideal, it has not come without a few bumps in the road, to say the least. It's really challenged my teaching this year, and it has caused me to look especially at differentiation and some things that I have changed and put into place. I'm already excited about doing in my classroom for next year. And so one bright spot is that I think I'm going to be a better teacher next year because of some of the changes I was forced to make this year.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? How can we serve and support you? Okay, well, with that, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for joining us again. My apologies, you hear my dogs in the background now. It's dinner time, sorry. But want to thank everyone for joining us and giving your thoughts. As always, it's such a pleasure to partner with all of you in the important work of our district. And I do value your voices, we do. And please know that even outside of our meeting times, if there's anything that we can do to serve and support you, please don't hesitate to get in contact with myself or anyone on our human resources team. And thank you to our presenters this evening. And I just encourage all of you to, I know that we're all in the profession of caring for others and taking care of others. And please don't forget to take care of yourself while you're busy taking care of others. I know that we can all be our best selves when we are taking a little bit of time out for ourselves. So with that, I thank you so much. And I wish you a good evening. And I encourage you to be a part of our employee town hall tomorrow. Have a great day. Have a great evening, everyone. Take care.